So first of all, what we need to know is definition of knowledge. So knowledge is familiarity, awareness, understanding of someone or something, facts, information, description, skills. See, we need to look at the keywords over here. So what can be termed as knowledge? Familiarity, awareness, understanding of someone or something, facts, information, description, skills, which is acquired through, which is gained through experience or education, either by perceiving, discovering, or learning. That is known as knowledge. Just a second, students. Yeah. Interruptions. So we were discussing the definition of knowledge. So the words are not familiarity, awareness, understanding of someone or something such as facts, information, description, skills, which this is gained or acquired through experience or education by perceiving, discovering, or learning. Now there comes a topic that we need to categorize knowledge, and there are three categories of knowledge. Okay, the first category is explicit, second category is implicit, and the third category is tacit knowledge. Explicit knowledge, if I want to give you the example, the knowledge which you can easily write it down and share, or which you can acquire, that is the explicit knowledge. You can say like this as something you are searching on internet, some information. Every day, the word processing documents that we write a report, then spreadsheets, that all comes under the explicit knowledge. Then comes the implicit knowledge. So skills that are transferable from one job to another, that comes under the implicit knowledge. For example, if you want to consider, then there is a team over here. Okay, in company there is a team leader. Okay, and the team leader is supposed to give that person is having experience, and then after only we can give that position as a team leader. So what happens that when you are having some doubt or you are getting stuck at something, you just go to the team leader and discuss that, sir, I'm stuck at this particular thing. And that person provides you the solution that few years back I was also stuck, I tried this and it happened. So that person has gained skills, acquired knowledge over a period of time, and now it is sharing with you. So that is kind of knowledge is implicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is most easy to get acquired. Implicit knowledge is quite difficult. Skills must be transferred from one person to another person. So the way you walk, if you want to make a robot walk, then the skills of your walking must be duplicated or simulated in the same robot. The skill at which you work, suppose we need a robot as a barber, then also the hair cutting skills needs to be transferred from one person to the robot. Okay, that is comes under the implicit knowledge. And the last one that comes is the tacit knowledge. This is very difficult to acquire or even express also. This is someone's personal experience. For example, if I want to tell you that, suppose your mother gives you a written recipe of your favorite dish, but then you make step by step, but the taste is not exact like what she is used to make. Why? Because that is something she has gained over her personal experience. Okay, she might be telling you that put 1 teaspoon of red chili and powder. Then she might not be placing the exact amount in the food. Okay, so she might have written that knead the dough in this manner, but there is a different way. She has her personal experience. She might not be able to express you that check the consistency of dough like this. So that is the thing. Basic knowledge is a very difficult knowledge to acquire. And if you have an example of where basic knowledge is acquired, so somewhere in the sales marketing field, see if you want to have a robot to market your product, how it is going to convey, how it is going to like help track the deal with each and every customer. Okay. For example, one customer, if you read anything, if you say if it is willing to buy, that person will buy anything. There is a person who will ask counter question that how it will be useful for me. If that data is not stored in the robot, then how it is going to answer for it? With some customers, you need to give the empathy. Some customers, I am passing through a very bad situation. I need to meet the target. Please accept this, take it. So that is a skill. How our personal experience would be transferred to someone. I didn't just by talking to a person, we know that this is this kind of person. It needs to be handled with some loud voice. How a robot would be able to do that? That is someone's personal experience. That is what is a basic knowledge. There are different categories also. We'll later on see it. Okay. So right now, what you need to understand, what is the journey of data. At first, we acquire the data through web applications. Even when you click on one page and you go to the other page, okay, that is also the one kind of acquiring of data. From which page to which page you are moving. So after visiting the home page, you are going to which category. That is also one kind of acquiring a data. So you acquire the data, we perform organizing, analyzing, data handling, that's what we used to do. And we generate some information out of it. Then we interpret evaluation, that we do using the machine learning algorithm, and we get knowledge. Now comes into the picture the data science engineer, the knowledge what you are having, how to use this knowledge and generate wisdom out of it. That is the thing. So what the previous era was data, we were collecting the data, we were organizing it, we were generating the information out of it. Now this current our era is about the interpretation and evaluation. That is what we do in machine learning, deep learning. We generate the knowledge. Next would be the data science. How to use this knowledge. Okay, is it useful? Not useful? How to make maximum usage of it? And that is what is the journey of data. Or you can say knowledge progression. So then comes the two type of knowledge, that is procedural and declarative. This is going to be in the later part also. Okay. So procedural knowledge is how to drive a car. Okay. Then how to do something. We can consider as a procedural knowledge as algorithm that we studied. A search algorithm, step by step, everything was told to you. This is the way you should search, and that if you search in this way, you will get optimal answer. That is the procedural knowledge. Go step by step. Declarative knowledge, prologue. Statements are fed, rules are fed. Now post any query. Prologue will give you the answer. You are not telling prologue how to find the answer. Something that is true or false. So that is the example of declarative knowledge. Procedural knowledge, you people see, we have most of the algorithms implemented in Python. A star and BFS and etc. etc. And declarative knowledge, we have done in prologue. You know, we just given the queries. What prologue was giving us? This is the sibling of this relative, mother or not, ancestor, predecessor, successor, declarative knowledge or not. That means true or false. That is what the language was returning to us. Then after comes over here is a framework that you need to study. This framework is about the mapping between facts and representation. And I will explain you with the example of taking prologue in context. So facts. What are facts? See, in prologue there are two types of statements. One is fact and other one is rule. You know what we call as prologue clauses. A clause can be of two types. One is a fact one and another one is a rule one. Fact one, we assume that that is true because we are storing it as a data. If I am storing this line in prologue, dog spot, and then a period, okay? So when I run this particular query in prologue, it gives me true that yes, dog spot is present. This is correct. This is a fact in prologue. That means it is a true statement that you have stored over here. For this, in this context, it is true. So facts are some sentences which are true. We don't need to prove it true or false. There are other statements that we need to prove it as true or false. So suppose there is a knowledge with me that Spot is a dog. So when we used to be kids, we used to, this is dog, this is cat. So now we have a knowledge that Spot is a dog. This fact is represented in English sentence. Now we use a forward mapping function. We use to represent this sentence in logic. So the second line you see dog and there is a parenthesis and value argument that is passes for. So this is representation of English sentence into logic. That is what we call fact internal representation. Now we can do some inference, we can do some deduction, there can be a reasoning program, we can manipulate this particular statement. That is, suppose the third statement, what it is in logic, and what it tells that the first where my cursor is, it is universal quantifier, which means for all x. For all x, colon means we know that if. For all x, if dog of x is true, this will imply that x has tail. For all x, if dog x is true, this will imply that x has tail. Now if I substitute the value of Spot over here, so dog Spot, this will be true in prologue. And if this is true, then I have a new knowledge with me that Spot is having a tail. So I can now deduce that has tail Spot, because if this is true for x, then has tail should also be true for x. So if I substitute the value of x is equals to Spot, then this will be true, because looking at the statement 2, this will be true. Spot is a dog. That means that for all x, this will be also true, that x would be having a tail. So now I have a new knowledge that Spot has a tail. So this is what this diagram is telling you. We represent it with facts in internal representation. Then we did some manipulation on it. So we fed English and we got is also the English understanding. That is the relationship and this diagram means. This whole chapter is theoretical. Now we come to the properties of knowledge representation. Here in this chapter we will talk about representing the knowledge only. Okay. First thing is about adequacy. What is adequacy? This particular word means that enough, acceptable or sufficient. Inferential means you come to the conclusion. Example, I have given you one statement also before this, that Tweety is bird. So somewhere you infer that Tweety can fly. Now I make another statement, Tweety is penguin. So you come to the conclusion, Tweety cannot fly because you know that penguins cannot fly. That is the thing. Representational adequacy, the first property. The first property says that you should be able to represent all kinds of knowledge, whether it is tacit, implicit, or explicit. Different kind of knowledge should be represented sufficiently, acceptable, or enough. So, different kinds of knowledge to be represented in this way, whether it is relational, inheritable. Okay. The second property is inferential adequacy. That means from the present statements, you should be able to derive the new knowledge. From the old knowledge, we should be able to derive the new knowledge. Just now we derived it now from Spot. First of all, we were only having the Spot was a dog. Spot is a dog. Now we can also have a new knowledge. Spot has a tail. Okay. Then comes inferential efficiency. That means that if I write over something over here, that doesn't change the old structure. Suppose I write over here, Spot is a Doberman breed. Usually Doberman breed do have tails, but their tails got, we operate them and remove their tails. So now somewhere the inference would be changed over. This new knowledge would be contradicting with my old knowledge. So there should not be a situation where addition of new knowledge should contradict your old knowledge. That is what is an inferential efficiency. Acquisitional efficiency. The ability to acquire the new knowledge. Whether you are using web applications to acquire it, whether you are using Google clicks, ad clicks to acquire the knowledge, whether you are using flow from one page to another page to acquire the knowledge. So, if you are trying to build an AI application, first of all, you should know is that how to acquire knowledge for my AI application. Where I will be getting the data for building a good AI application. So, this four system requirements that we need to keep in our mind. Anybody is having doubt in this four requirements so that I can move forward to the type of knowledge? I can move forward to the type of knowledge. Anybody is having doubt in this one? Types of knowledge, four types of knowledge: relational, inheritable, inferential, and declarative or procedural. Declarative and procedural we just now discussed in the lecture. Declarative means the one we are doing in Prolog. We just feed the data and let the system or language, programming language figure it out what to provide us the solution. Backtrack it, give it as the answer. That is declarative knowledge. Natural language processing is one of the very good example of declarative knowledge. And procedural knowledge, searching. So whatever regression, classification, whatever we are doing, that comes under the procedural knowledge. We mentioned step by step, do this. Move in this direction, you will get the optimal answer. You need to predict when this value of your function, the cost function becomes minimized, then at that time the prediction should be done. That prediction is acceptable. That is what we used to do now. Rule-based inference. Okay? Oh, sorry. Here we are about the type of knowledge representation. In this also examples are very given very nicely. So even if you read this PPT, that is also very good. First type of relational knowledge, that is about the database management system, the way we represent our data in database management system, and that is known as relational knowledge. So data in the form of rows and columns, attributes as columns, and number of samples as rows, that is known as relational knowledge. Data sets are also one kind of relational knowledge that is available to us. So data sets come under the category of relational knowledge. Database management system or data sets, both come under it. So the knowledge which we are representing in the forms of rows and columns, in which columns are attributes, those are known as relational knowledge. We can manipulate it, and that is the second requirement also. Inferential adequacy tells that you should be able to manipulate the knowledge. So here we would be able to manipulate this knowledge very easily. For example, if you have a query, who is the heaviest player? In that case, in SQL, we can have an aggregate function maximum for this column weight, for this attribute weight, and get the answer very easily by posing a query with the aggregate function. So ability to manipulate, we can update it, we can delete, we can modify it using alter. So that is relational knowledge. The other kind of knowledge is inheritable knowledge. Inheritable knowledge, here we discuss about two things, that is semantic net and frame. Here we represent the knowledge in the way of semantic nets and frame. We would be having a 30-minute lecture on semantic nets and frame also, specially dedicated to this. Okay? But just now I will introduce you for this chapter. Or suppose this is a semantic net. Why semantic net? Inheritable knowledge. That means you need to show somehow here the class hierarchy. Class inclusion and exclusion. Class membership. That needs to be represented. And that knowledge is known as inheritable knowledge. A generalized hierarchy. See what you used to do in the ER diagram, we used to have is A for generalization. So generalization and specialization, if you want to represent, then this kind of semantic nets are good for. So representing inheritable knowledge with the help of semantic nets and frame, where we can easily represent this attribute is A. And is A shows us class inclusion. That means person is parent class and adult male is a child class. Adult male is a parent class and baseball player is a child class. Baseball player is parent class and pitcher and fielder are both are child class. There is another attribute instance. So this boxes in your semantic net will have objects or value, and this directed arrows which are labeled, they are known as attributes. So handed, height, batting average, team, these are attributes. They are initiating from the object or class. So person class, it is initiating and terminating at the another box which is having the value right. So person is class, handed is attribute, and right is the value for attribute handed, because the arrow gets terminated over there. Same thing is for adult male. Adult male is a class, height is attribute, and this arrow is getting terminated at a value 5.10. Hear about this? Anybody is having any doubt with this? over here how to find a particular value or something data from this hierarchical structure. We have an algorithm property inheritance. I will summarize this algorithm. There's no need to learn with it. Okay. Suppose our aim is to find the value of this attribute instance. Okay. Or we need to find some value with the object, not with the class. So filter is the class, but there is an instance of that class. So there is object PV receive. So we need to find the value with it. Now what it tells us that if you want to find the object in your knowledge base, so our aim is to find this PV receive in this knowledge base that we are having. We start with the attribute A. If it is easy, then we go down the hierarchy. So we go down until we find this attribute instance. If we find the value attribute instance, we report it with the value. Otherwise, what is the value associated with the attribute we report? So there is a simple thing written over here that if you want to find the object O in the knowledge base, if there is a value for attribute A, then report the value. Else if there is a value for attribute instance, or else what you need to do is, if you don't find, then you move down the hierarchy until you find a value for attribute A. That is needed to be done. Next comes the inferential knowledge. Inferential knowledge means that you need to represent your particular knowledge in the form of first order logic. And when I say first order logic, it means predicate logic. There is a difference between propositional logic and predicate logic. In propositional logic, you will not be having this quantifiers. Propositional logic was not able to successfully represent quantities that are present in the sentence. For example, all dogs have tail. So for all, that is not the functionality provided in propositional logic, but that you can get in predicate logic. So the only difference between propositional logic and predicate logic is that we are able to represent quantities in predicate logic. So first order logic means predicate logic, and inferential knowledge means using the rules of inference. You know, we have done Morse ponens and ponens in discrete mathematics. So using the rules of inference to deduce to something new, that is inferential knowledge. So representing our English sentences or facts in the form of predicate logic. That is what we do in the inferential. Okay. Fuzzy logic. That is also one kind of representation of knowledge in inferential. You must have, you probably would have studied fuzzy logic by now. Okay, now. Now, declarative and procedural, you are clear with it. The last topic of this chapter is issues in knowledge representation. So where we have issues in getting good representation of our knowledge, where the inference is not a conclusion, we are not able to get it. The first is important attributes like is, a, and instance are not represented properly with whatever the techniques we have just discussed. So that is the first problem. Relationship among the attributes, whether they are mutually connected, disjoint, inverse, what is the existence of is-a hierarchy over there, constraints, single valued attributes. Constraints like that, for license the range should be between 18 to 65 or 60. For to be a player in Baseball team, the minimum height should be 6 feet. Those who are having 5'10" height are rejected. So where the constraints are placed, whatever the technique we have seen, we didn't see any constraint over there. So that is the issue in knowledge representation. Placing the constraints, single valued attributes, inheritance. See, even with when we were having database management system, we could normalize it to second normal form. But the best one is the fifth normal form. The best developer or a database engineer would not be able to normalize it until 5n. That is actually not a possible scenario that we used to study. When I was working with the industry, we were normalizing the database. We were giving 6 months to just normalize the database. But at max, you can do at third normal form, not more than that. Whatsoever you try. Granularity. What amount of information to be disclosed? For example, the statement over here is given, John spotted Sue. At what time? Where? How he spotted it? With whom? Etc. 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 So, how much information we must disclose to the presentation? How much knowledge should be disclosed to the representation? For example, one person in the company needs to be represented this information. Another person might be need to be represented with more. What should be the privileges? How it is possible that I represent the same information to all? Because this person needs to know more and that needs to know less. How an AI system would be able to do? Set of objects. Here, mostly the problem is that when you are representing English sentences, there are more than one meaning for the same English sentence. How to represent that particular sentence? The same statement can be represented in multiple ways. Also, there is a problem when we are using universal quantifier, extension quantifiers. The problem remains the same with the representation. Very difficult to represent. More than one alternatives would be there. Okay? How to come down to one individual solution. And the last is finding the right structure. I give you the data. Now you decide whether I should use relational knowledge, inheritable knowledge, inferential knowledge, declarative knowledge, which knowledge I should use. That is the fifth issue in the knowledge representation. And by this, I complete your chapter number 4 of this. So you can find this material today. I will upload it in your AI folder. And then after I request you that please read this. Okay, it is marked lesson 9 chapter 4 and the self and Peter knowledge. And this is your textbook written right. You must be know by now. And this is the reference book. This popular books you need to refer. Okay. So go through this, students. Any questions?
No.
Any questions?
हेलो
Yes.
मैम, वो आपने बोला ना कि अलग अलग लैंग्वेजेस में मतलब इंग्लिश में एक ही सेंटेंस को अलग अलग ट्रिक से आप बोल सकते हो, मतलब द मीनिंग रिमेन्स सेम, द वर्ड्स कीप्स ऑन चेंजिंग। तो आजकल की जो एआई है जो लाइक ये सब प्रिडिक्ट कर सकती है कि द नेचर ऑफ द सेंटेंस, लाइक इज इट पॉजिटिव, इज इट न्यूट्रल और इज इट नेगेटिव, तो वो सब वो लोग कैसे करते हैं?
they are used, indent is used like that. Okay, alternative Google क्या करता है, वर्ड्स को segregate करता है. Then there is a, I have studied like this. मैंने कहीं देखा था, वो rearrange करता है. तो उसमें हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, सिमेंटिक पे वर्क करता है. सिमेंटिक वेब सर्च आपने सुना होगा, नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग में आता है. वर्ड टू वेक में, वर्ड टू वेक लाइब्रेरी नहीं है,
हाँ मैम.
सिमेंटिक पे जाता है, मीनिंग सर्च करता है, तो सेंटेंस का मीनिंग कैसा है. समझ में आया? डन.
Yes.
आई एम टेकिंग योर अटेंडेंस. वो सिमेंटिक सर्च कहलाता है, उस पर काफी रिसर्च हो रहा है. अटेंडेंस मैंने ले ली है. You guys can enjoy your break and we will have I am terminating the meeting.